In this video, I'm going to share 5 tips to help you bring up your lagging body parts. First, it's important to understand the potential reasons why you have lagging body parts to begin with. Of course, the most common reason we hear is genetics, and I know some guys will use it as an excuse, but it truly is a legit reason. We all have certain muscle groups that respond better to the training stimulus than others. I know for myself personally, my arms tend to grow simply by thinking of working out, yet my chest and my calves don't respond nearly as well. It's important to note when it comes to genetics, you can apply all the tips and tricks when it comes to bringing up lagging body parts and still never achieve a symmetrical, proportionate, and balanced physique. So our goal here is to just do absolutely everything that we can to kind of close that gap and try to create get as close as we can to developing a balanced, proportionate, and symmetrical physique. Now, another reason you may be experiencing some lagging body parts simply comes down to improper form and technique. I know a lot of guys will use genetics as an excuse for having stubborn calves, yet when I see them doing a calf raise or a calf press, they're really bouncing up and down, and a lot of the tension and the force is being directed towards the Achilles tendon, and very little tension is created within the calves, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. So that is a huge reason why their calves are not responding. They're actually not getting the stimulus they need in order to grow. Now, another potential reason why you may have lagging body parts is simply choosing exercises that don't suit your body best. For example, like it may be coming down to certain chest presses that are less tension on my chest muscles and more towards my triceps. And maybe there's some back exercises where I'm using more biceps than my back muscles simply because of my structure and my natural movement patterns. And another potential reason for why you may have lagging body parts is not putting forth the same kind of focus and attention as you do towards other muscle groups. For example, again, when it comes to the calves, I know a lot of guys will save it towards the end of their workout when they're exhausted both physically and mentally, and it just they just do what they can to just get through it. They just kind of half-ass their calf raises there and don't give it the same kind of focus, attention, and effort that you do to other body parts. So what are some of the tips that we can utilize in order to bring up those lagging body parts? Number one is to improve on your form and technique. I think that's where we should always begin when it comes to trying to develop our muscle groups. And it's something that we can always continue to improve upon really for life. I mean, I've been training for 35 years. I've been coaching for over 20 years, and I still find that I can continue to improve upon my form and technique. And a lot of it comes down to just controlling the movements. And I've always been very controlled with my tempo, just a nice, slow and controlled negative. But I found recently in the past 4 months that I've slowed down that negative to 3 to 4 seconds, and I'm able to really feel even greater tension across my chest muscles. When I'm lowering that weight nice and slow and controlled, I feel the stretch, that brief pause in the bottom, and I squeeze, I contract the pecs as I'm raising it up. So a lot more focus, mind-muscle connection, and a lot more control can really steer the tension in the right areas as opposed to kind of using some supporting muscle groups in there. Other things when it comes to form and technique is just making sure that you're working within the proper movement pattern. I know a lot of guys have a tough time developing their lats. My lower lats aren't developed there, but when they're rowing, they kind of shrugging their shoulders up all the time instead of kind of keeping their shoulders down and driving their elbows down towards their hips. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a high row like that, but you're going to develop more of the upper back muscles and not so much kind of that mid back area there. So just naturally kind of working on your form and technique. I really like recording myself when it comes to form and technique, and I highly encourage the members of the Lose Fat, Get Jacked Inner Circle to submit form critiques, submit a request for a form critique where they'll record themselves performing an exercise that they're just not sure if they're performing it properly, and I give some tips and tricks to get the most out of that movement. So I highly encourage you to kind of record yourself and at the very least kind of compare your movement pattern to what you're seeing out there from some of us experts and coaches who are guiding you to proper form and technique. And next up would be to make sure that you're selecting exercises that suit you best. Again, for myself personally, I've mentioned that my arms grow easy. My chest is one of those stubborn muscle groups that I have there. I really found like the bench press didn't serve me best. I was really feeling a lot of it in my triceps taken over as well as the front of my shoulders there. So I'm finding that I'm better off performing a lot more fly movements in my training. So whether it's a cable fly, I can hit all the different angles, high, medium, low, or machine flies. I find I'm able to get a more focused contraction with my pecs, and it is an incredible exercise to begin with when it comes to pec development, but even better when I'm able to take my triceps out of the movement. It's like all my pecs are doing the work there. So finding exercises that suit you best when it comes to back, if I don't want my biceps involved, there's been times where I've used straps. A lot of coaches will recommend always use straps when it comes to your back development. Some people will say, well, you're not going to develop your forearm strength. And they would say, well, work your forearms directly. Do some exercises that are going to train your forearms. But if you want to make the most of your back exercise, like develop your back to the best ability, use less arms and more back. And there's been times I've used hooks instead of straps, right? I don't have to hang on with my fingers at all. The hooks do the work. I'm just driving through my elbow. So finding ways to take exercises and modify them slightly in order to make sure that you are maximizing the benefits from that movement pattern and really stimulating that muscle group to the best of your abilities. The other thing when it comes to focus and attention, if there is, say it's your calves is your stubborn muscle group, myself personally, I will start my workout with my calf training. That way I'm not saving it towards the end. I have my full mental focus and my full physical strength and energy and stamina to give the best that I have to my calf training. So prioritizing it at the beginning of my workout is absolutely key when it comes to that. Just making sure that I am doing the same number of sets. If I'm doing like 6 sets for chest, I'm only doing 3 sets a week for calves. Well, I got to bump that up in order to kind of balance things out there. The next thing, another tip, so that was tip number 3. Tip number 4 would be to vary your frequency. If you're used to just doing training each muscle group once per week, maybe you can try training that lagging muscle group multiple times per week, maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times per week. So experiment with different frequencies to see if that muscle group is going to respond better to that. So again, you take that whatever training volume, say you're aiming for 16 sets for the muscle group per week, and you want to split that between 4 different workouts. You got 4 sets for that muscle group in 4 different workouts throughout the week. So you're spreading that volume throughout there. But if you're used to high frequency training, maybe try once a week for that. So again, like calves is a great example. There's times where I will train calves every single workout, and I'll only do maybe 3 to 4 sets each and every workout and absolutely crushing them. And then there's times where I'll only train my calves once a week and absolutely do pick multiple exercises and absolutely hammer them. So they need that full week to recover. So don't be afraid to vary your frequency, vary the exercises that you're performing in there in order to make sure that you're hitting that muscle group from all different angles, to make sure that you're maximizing every muscle fiber within that muscle group. So that's 4 tips that we got there. And tip number 5 would be specialized training. That is something that I have done from time to time. Usually I do it whenever I've experienced an injury. So in hockey, if I've injured my knee and I can't train legs, I've done some upper body specialized training. So for a couple of months, I would do a chest and tricep specialized training. And the other couple of months, I would do a back and bicep specialized training, which gave my legs my knee time to heal and recover. There's been times where I've had a little niggle on my shoulder. I've slept on my shoulder weird, and it just creates some awkwardness. I felt really uncomfortable when I was training. So I did a leg specialized training. So usually what happens, what I like to do when it comes to specialized training is you really increase that volume for that lagging body part, but you really need to make sure that you're decreasing the training volume with all the other muscle groups that you're performing. So on the Lose Fat Get Jacked website, I do have 3 different specialized training programs out there that you can experiment with if you're not comfortable in designing something yourself. But basically, you're going to ramp up that training volume for the lagging body part. And when it comes to all the other muscle groups, just maintenance level volume. So you don't need a lot of sets for those other muscle groups in order to maintain that muscle you have while you're giving your body, you're allowing that lagging body part to utilize all of your body's resources. So a lot of the fuel that you're consuming is going to go towards building that lagging muscle group, and it's very easy. You don't need as much to kind of maintain the rest of those muscle groups, and you have more energy that is being directed towards that lagging body part, more focus that's directed towards that lagging body part. The other body parts aren't taking up any of your energy, any of your focus. You're just kind of maintaining that. So you have a lot more yourself to give to that lagging body part, which again is an easy way for you to kind of increase that attention and focus and really incorporate a variety of exercise in your training because you've ramped up that volume. So what I've liked to do in the past is maybe I'll train that lagging body part 3 times per week, all the other body parts twice per week, but I will really lower that volume for all those other body parts out there. And that gives me like the 3 workouts per week for the lagging body part, gives me enough workouts to kind of spread out that training volume. So maybe it's 18 sets that you're going to perform for that lagging body part in that week. And so you could do 6 sets per workout, and that's not going to be too much for that muscle group to recover from. Again, like the research has shown that anywhere like 4 to 6 seems to be like a really good sweet spot. But I'd say like anywhere from 4 to 10 sets for a muscle group in a workout is ideal. Any more than that, you're going to experience diminishing returns. So 6 in a workout is great. And again, when it comes to recovery, because you've lowered the volume for all those other body parts, you're going to have the recoverability in order to dedicate towards that lagging body part. So you can ramp up that volumes to recover from it like a champ there when you're designing your specialized training properly there. So again, there are the 5 tips to bring up your lagging part. Number 1, focus on improving your form and technique. Number 2, you're going to want to select exercises that suit your body best. So if it is your chest that's lagging behind, try to think, maybe I should start focusing on some exercises where I really feel that contraction. I feel the tension in that target muscle. Tip number 3 is to lost my train of thought there. To prioritize. So at the beginning of your workout, so have that whatever lagging body part is, start your workout with that body part. Tip number 4 is to vary your frequency, to just challenge your body in a different way with different frequencies to see if you can spark that muscle growth. And then tip number 5 is to incorporate some specialized training in your program. Like I said, I have done it multiple times in the past. I absolutely love it. And all these tips and tricks have helped me bring up my lagging body parts. But like I said, when it comes to my genetics, my chest and my calves don't respond as well as my arms do. So my chest is never going to develop as big as my arms do, just working with what I got. But I've maximized my gains by incorporating a lot of these tips and tricks and really trying to figure out different strategies that I can utilize in order to bring them up. So these are the top 5 tips that I've utilized to maximize my genetic potential when it comes to bringing up those lagging body parts. I'd love to hear if you've tried any others yourself that have worked, and I'd love to hear if you found these tips helpful. If you did, please do me a favor. And if you enjoyed today's video, please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. If you know a fellow bro who'd benefit from watching today's video, please do me a favor and share it with them. But again, more than anything, I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, share your insights, share your feedback, your own personal experiences, any other questions that you may have when it comes to bringing up lagging body parts. And before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Lose Fat, Get Jacked. Have yourself an amazing day. I'll catch you in the next video.